Paul Will, DOC 447357. We have Keith Nordyke, who's the attorney, Andrew Hundley from Louisiana Parole Project, Randy Meyer, Jefferson ADA, and Amy Kosover, who's the fiance who would like to speak.
All right. Please introduce yourself, state your name and DOC number for the record.
My name is Paul Will, 447357.
Hi, Paul. My name is Brennan Kelsey. Again, along with me is Mrs. Wise and Mr. Roche. I'll explain the process to you, read some information to the record. We'll have a parole interview, ask you some questions. You can respond. At the end, you can make a statement. We'll take a vote. You understand the process?
Yes, sir.
Paul Will, DOC number 447357. You're a first-class offender. Parole eligibility date 8/12/2020. Full term, good time date 11/6/2083. Full term date 9/7/2099. You were sentenced to life, and then your sentence was commutated by the pardon board and the governor to 99 years. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you answer Mr. Alvin Roche's questions, please?
Can't hear Mr. Roche.
You're on mute, Mr. Roche.
Good morning, Mr. Will. How are you?
I'm happy to be alive, sir. Good morning to you.
Good. It's nice seeing you again.
I didn't hear you.
It's nice seeing you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we have Paul Will. He's 47 years old. He's been incarcerated 20 years of a 99-year sentence. He has earned 501 days good time, and he's a first felony offender. He was granted clemency by Governor John Bell Edwards on August 12, 2020, and that recommendation was granted at 99 years with immediate parole eligibility. He got his first recommendation from the pardon board on September 17th, 2018, but there was a provision that it would be only recommended after a victim dialogue with the victim of the crime. That dialogue did not materialize, and there was a second recommendation without the victim dialogue that was made on July 20th, 2020. The reasons for the recommendation: he had a favorable remarks by Warden Bernard, his contribution to the prison community, excellent programs, a low risk assessment score, and all of this was based on the victim input, because we actually talked to the victim during the hearing, and she was privy to the information that was about to happen, and we sort of got her approval after agreeing to the victim dialogue. His disciplinary conduct is only 3 disciplinary write-ups in 20 years of incarceration, the last one being in 2015. Mr. Will, have you completed any programs since your pardon hearing?
Yeah, 2 actually. I've achieved my master's certificate in mentoring, and I finished my master's degree in Master of Arts in Pastoral Ministry.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Warden Bernard, would you like to make any comments, remarks, or observations?
Yes, sir, Mr. Roche, you went through it very well. Paul is taking advantage of everything that we have to offer in our rehabilitative programs, and including his master's degree, which is I know he's very proud of. He's absolutely model prisoner, no problem.
Thank you, Warden Bernard. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my interview with Mr. Will.
All right, Ms. Wise.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
And I see that you are an ordained minister since 2014. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'm sure that's challenging around there.
Yeah, especially with what comes along with it, because I'm a mandatory reporter under two circumstances. So if someone comes and tells me that they're going to hurt someone or themselves, and I deem that they actually have the means to do so, it makes for some interesting living in prison, as you can imagine.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The only other thought I had was, tell me about this fiance in Atlanta, but I see she's on.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how this going to work. What's y'all's future plans?
Marriage, Christmas Eve at Jefferson Baptist Church, if mercy is granted from this board, with an amazing celebration of restoration to family, friends, and a lovely future. She's my absolute best friend. She's been the clearest mirror I have ever encountered in my life.
All right. So what are you? So if you're successful today, we got your wedding plans. Where are you going to live?
Well, I'm going to immediately go to the Louisiana Parole Project, and I will
Okay.
be there until they deem satisfactory completion, and then we'll work on an interstate compact, and I will return home to be with Amy in Marietta, Georgia.
Okay, I like that. I like the sound of that. All right,
Thank you.
that's all I had. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and hear from Amy right now. How about we hear from Amy?
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on Paul's behalf today. I have known Paul for many years, and I've grown to know and love him dearly. He is my absolute best friend. Paul's life is a shining example of radical transformation. I have found him to be the most consistent and uncompromising man of God that I've ever met in my life. And because of his example in my life, I'm actually a better mother and a daughter and a friend. He has taught me to, think differently, listen carefully, and love completely. And he is just a wonderful man of godly character. We are looking forward to the opportunity for Paul to transition to the Parole Project, because we just feel like that will be just a wonderful support system for reintegration for him. And then, like Paul said, our hopes are to be married shortly thereafter and apply for the Interstate Compact. Mr. Nordyke has said he would help us with that process and make sure that that is done properly. I want you also to know I own a media production company here in the metro Atlanta area. I've been working, doing that for many years. I do both secular and Christian content. And so I'm really excited for Paul to be able to work with me in producing Christian content in our future. So that's a really exciting opportunity for us. I want you to also know I am fully committed to tell you that Paul has a safe, supportive, financially stable, and loving environment here with me. He also has a very loving, supportive family. And together we have a giant group of friends and church family that are interested in seeing Paul succeed. I know many of them are watching online right now. I'm excited to see what God is going to accomplish through Paul's life. And I'm also happy to be by his side to help him be the best version of himself. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, thank you. Now we'll hear from Andrew Hunley.
Andrew Hunley, Louisiana Parole Project. We just wanted to confirm to the board that Paul Will is in fact a client of ours, and if he is granted parole today, he will come to our program, and we look forward to assisting him in his reintegration and providing him the services and the programming we do all of our clients. However, because of Paul's maturity and growth while he's been incarcerated, we anticipate that his reentry will be smooth. Parole Project commits to provide housing to Paul until his interstate compact agreement to Georgia would be approved, where he would move, and we would expect him to fulfill all of the obligations that all Parole Project clients would while he's living in our house. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now we'll hear from Mr. Randy Meyer.
Good morning, Randy Meyer, Assistant DA, Jefferson Parish. I don't know if y'all have the victim's letter, which I think she sent last night in regard to this case.
Mr.
Based-
Myers,
Yes, sir.
we do, and I've read it this morning.
Okay, thank you. And well, basically what she said is she's going to leave it in the board's hands, but she does ask, and we would concur in this, for certain conditions to be placed if he is granted, which or no contact with the victim or her family, that he does have an out-of-state residence plan after the parole project. Lastly, because of the, I think everybody would agree that substance abuse was an issue with committing this crime, that he continued, and we all know that fighting substance abuse is a lifelong thing, that he continued with substance abuse treatment after he is released.
Mr. Myers,
Yes, sir.
you have my guarantee all of those issues will be covered.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Paul, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
It's just listening to what everybody said. It's really virtually impossible to add to some of that stuff, other than the fact that I would say this: if an inmate who is committed to rehabilitation finds themselves in Angola, the opportunities to participate in a very healthy pathway are available to all. And you know what? I have and will continue to serve as an example to inspire anybody to follow that same path, because it's hope inspiring and it brings life to a place that is very difficult to live in it sometimes. And I would say that I'm deeply grateful for all the opportunities that have been afforded me. And that's all I got. I'm grateful.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Norday, brief statement.
Very brief. I concur in everything that's been said so far, and Mr. Roche has also captured every one of my notes. So I'm going to put this set of notes in the trash can again. So I hope that's true as we go forward in the day. But I have nothing left to add. He's going to the parole project. I have known Paul and Amy for a good while. I am quite comfortable that they're going to have a very great life together and do very well.
All right, is the panel prepared to vote?
Yes,
Mr. Alvin Roche?
Mr. Will.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I'm going to give you my verdict, and then I'm going to give you the stipulations and the conditions, okay?
Yes, sir.
My vote is to grant your request for early release to the Louisiana Parole Project, and then to the approved ICOT to Marietta, Georgia. And Louisiana Parole Project and the approval of your interstate compact will depend on when that will be. But that is the plan: Louisiana Parole Project, then Marietta, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
I've read your mental health evaluation, and it seems that you're prepared. You know there's going to be challenges, you know there's going to be difficulties, but reading your mental health evaluation, it made me believe that you are ready to face whatever comes your way, and that reassured me about my decision. You have an approved resident plan and employment plan. You'll be working for AK Films in Georgia, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, conditions after release. You have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Okay.
You are to do community service with at-risk youth 5 hours monthly. You are to maintain full-time employment at all times during your supervision. And you are to have a mental health evaluation upon release, just to make sure everything's fine, and follow all recommendations of that evaluation. Plus, you are to have no contact with the victim or the victim's family. Absolutely no contact.
Yes, sir.
You are to attend NA meetings NAAA meetings 3 times a week. And you should get a mental health evaluation with that, a substance abuse evaluation after arriving at your final destination to make sure that everything basically has been taken care of as far as your addiction to alcohol and drugs.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand all the conditions?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, actually, great opportunity.
Mr. Chairman, that completes my recommendation.
All right, Ms. Purwise.
Sir, my vote is the same, for the same reason that's been outlined. Mr. Rocha, did you mention any kind of community service?
Yes, community service, 5 hours monthly with at-risk youth.
All right, thank you. I concur with the recommendations, and my vote is to grant as well. Best wishes to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. God bless you.
All right, you have 2 votes to grant your parole. Also, I'm going to vote to grant your parole today for the reasons stated, all the work you've done, the positive institutional records, your warden's comments, low risk assessment score. You'll be released to the parole project then, and when it's complete, the ICOTS, you'll be moved to Georgia. You have community service 5 hours per month, maintain full-time employment. You'll have a curfew from 9 p to 6 a. You have a mental health evaluation, follow-up recommendations if need be, substance abuse evaluation and follow-up recommendations if need be. And you'll attend NAAA 3 times a week. Do you understand all the stipulations?
I do. Thank you.
No contact with the victim or victim's family.
Yes, sir.
All right, you have 3 votes to grant your parole today. Your parole's been granted. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Well, for me, this was a really refreshing hearing, and we'll get into the details of what it is that he did. And frankly, in my opinion, it just brings up more of the craziness of Louisiana and their sentencing. Like, I think this is actually a case that we can all feel good about. I feel that way. And it was nice. I thought it was also a perfectly run parole hearing. You had the district attorney, Randy Meyer, who didn't just spit, "Oh, I'm a DA. You have to stay in prison." No, he did his job. You had the his attorney, Keith, who might be the best attorney that we see come up here. He threw out his whole statement instead of, just wanting to hear his voice. It kind of jumped to the chase. You had I thought it was a perfectly run hearing. And you want to know what he did? Here he is. He's in the red, granted parole. He kidnapped someone, and it was a big story, but he kidnapped her, and it lasted less than 24 hours, but he never harmed her physically. It was traumatizing, but he didn't touch her or harm her. And they gave him a life sentence without the possibility of parole for it. The governor commuted his sentence in 2016. We don't have that hearing. It's before they were doing it on Zoom. And then now in 2020, he got paroled. He had to wait 4 years. So let's go over that. See, this was written in 2000, and it's quite a bizarre story. And thank you, Richard, for putting this all together for me, for us. So July 26th, for one Coed, it was a 1,200-mile ride of terror. 18-year-old Nicole of suburban New Orleans was on her way to her job at a nearby Monday morning when she was carjacked. An armed stranger forced her to drive about 1,200 miles to Philadelphia, making withdrawals from ATM machines en route. She managed to escape from the man who grabbed her and called her family Tuesday. The family met her in Philadelphia. It's interesting because I read another there was another article where it didn't say that she escaped, so that he dropped her off. So it's, you know, it's I'm not quite sure. I didn't hug her Monday morning, said the mother Karen, and that will never happen again. The suspect, oh, that morning she didn't hug her. That will never happen again. The suspect, Paul, 27, of Cape May, New Jersey, told police that he had been abusing. What's the nickname for it? The Magic Dragon, for at least 2 years. He was apparently despondent over breaking up with his girlfriend. Look at the typos in here. At least 2 years, one word. His girlfriend, one word. That's right. They probably got it wrong that she escaped. I'll look at the other article where it said he dropped her off and wanted to buy narcotics in Philadelphia so that he could end his life. Philadelphia police said he is being held in Philadelphia and likely will be charged with kidnapping, robbery, theft, and firearm. Look at who wrote this article. I felt like if he got to know me, maybe he wouldn't harm me, Nicole said. So I just kept asking him questions, and I would tell him something about me, even if it was made up. She's a very intelligent girl, very brave person, said Thomas of the Philadelphia Police Department. She didn't flip out or try to do something that would actually harm herself, like jump out of the car. Heroes welcome. More than 100 people turned up to greet her Tuesday night when she arrived New Orleans at an international airport. They whooped like football fans and hugged like family. They brought followers and carried signs. They craned their necks waiting for her. Finally, she appeared with a teddy bear in hand. I'm so glad to be here, she said. It was a long trip. After the airport celebration, the party continued, where her parents and friends waited fearfully for news just a day before. It was Monday, shortly before 7 a.m., when she made the short drive from her home at Lakeside Shopping Center, where she was working 2 part-time jobs during the summer vacation from LSU. She was kidnapped by a man who ordered her into the passenger seat and drove away with her in a late model compact car. Now, this is the article that's a little bit more professionally written. And it was written in 2019 or updated in 2019. So, appeal for Nicole, kidnapper hinged on discussion of plea deal. So, what was interesting is another Louisiana brilliantness is that he was offered a plea deal, and he was never told about the plea deal. So, it went to trial and he got life. If you can imagine Louisiana, right? So here's where it says, so the story of disappearance of petite Louisiana student Nicole captivated the New Orleans area. She was 18 years old. She vanished the early mornings before she could arrive at her summer job in Lakeside, and she surfaced about 19 hours later on a Philadelphia street, where her armed captor, Paul of New Jersey, set her free, unharmed, and drove away. You see, it's a different story. And there is a difference, setting her free unharmed versus her escaping. I think there's a big difference. And that's the story here. In Jefferson Parish in 2001, convicted Will of aggravated kidnapping. A charge that sent him to Louisiana to Angola for the rest of his life. And here's the thing. What he did is terrible. What he did, he needs to get a long sentence for. But life without parole is insane. First of all, you have to award a criminal who doesn't harm his captor. You can't give him the same sentence as someone who would have offed her or done the worst to her. He could have done whatever he wanted, and he didn't. So you're going to give him the same sentence as someone who would have? What message are you sending anybody in the system? It's just ridiculous. Now, could be the judge didn't have a choice because of the legislation. He went to court, the jury found him guilty, and that was the maximum mandatory. I mean, that was the mandatory? Maybe. But even if that's the case, then that's the legislation's problem, right? Because let's be real. If he had kidnapped a child and assaulted a child, he might have just gotten 5 years. So, but still, what you had here was a prosecutor that wanted to send him away for the maximum, probably because it was a big news story. And, you know, they love to make those news headlines. So it was like the judge ordered that the parish prosecutors offered him the chance to plead guilty for a reduced sentence, but instead the prosecutor appealed that. And on Wednesday, now 27 and her family members, along with the members of Will's family, listened to the attorneys argue to a 3-judge panel. So this was like 8 years later. They won some type of appeal to offer a plea deal. And they said, was there indeed a plea offer? And the ADA acknowledged a plea was discussed, but that Murray admitted that there was never a solid plea deal that he could offer his clients. Yes, there were discussions, but there was never a plea deal, I think is Will's attorney, David, argued there was without a doubt one. If Mr. Will would have been informed of the plea, he would have accepted it. Judge Grady, who heard about 40 minutes of the argument, gave no indication of whether the rule, the attorney said, it could come in months. Well, what we know is that it did not come. And, you know, this entire case, so here they updated it. Abundantly clear, there was a plea offer. Attorneys on both sides agreed on one thing, that is the ruling rejected Will's request for relief on the plea argument was inartfully written, and reaching her decision in part relied on the ruling in which by implicated he found that there was a plea deal, but Murray did not inform Will because of a strategic choice or a trial tactic. So his attorney never told his client there was a plea deal. How could that attorney not have been found I'm forgetting the technical term, ineffective counsel? I don't know what, or even in some type of violation. The client needs to know about a deal. No conceivable strategy would justify failing to relay the plea offer to the defendant. Exactly. However, they argued, said that in the same order that she found no plea deal existed before trial. I don't. So they're saying no plea deal existed. What a plea! It's really crazy, but it's Louisiana. You don't want to get locked up in Louisiana because I mean we just seen corruption. But here he is doing a talk at and he seems to be doing quite well. So overall, I think that this was, I guess it all worked out. He served, I think a little less than 20 years, which you might argue was a good amount of time to serve for what he had done. And he made the best of his time, and he's doing great now. I think one of the few cases where I say that someone who, you know, did the whole become a preacher thing, where this does seem to be quite authentic and meaningful. But love to hear your thoughts. With that, I'll let you go.